It's story time. Hi, boys and girls. I'm Miss Linda. I'm so happy to bring you story time today because I have an exciting book to read to you today. This book was written by Melinda Melton Crow and illustrated by Mike Brownlow. The story is about a little boy named Owen who has two dogs. One is Rocky and the other is Daisy. The story tells about what Owen does with his two dogs. He doesn't consider them his dogs, he considers them his friends. Rocky and Daisy think they are very lucky dogs because of how they became part of Owen's family. So follow along as I read the story to you, and we'll find out together how Rocky and Daisy became part of Owen's family. First, Owen will introduce Rocky and Daisy, and then tell us what Rocky likes and what Daisy likes. The name of the book is Rocky and Daisy Go Home. So that's our first clue about what's going to happen in the story. This storybook uses some words that might be new to you, so I'm going to explain them before we get into the story. The word adopted in this story means that someone is going to take responsibility for taking care of a new pet or pets. The word shelter means something that covers and gives protection to something like a pet that needs to be protected. And the word noisy means that there is too much noise. Whispered is when someone spoke to say something very softly using one's breath without one's vocal cords so that no one else can hear except one who is being whispered to. The word attention in this story, attention means the dogs want to be noticed, so they do something that others stop and look at them. Here we see Owen, that's the little boy, and he is going to tell us about his two dogs. He says, "I'm Owen, and these are Rocky and Daisy, my two dogs." And then he tells us that Rocky likes chasing squirrels, playing with other dogs, chewing things, running with Owen when he rides his bike. And Daisy likes playing ball, listening to stories, resting on the furniture, and eating yummy treats. Owen tells us that Rocky and Daisy were great friends. Rocky was silly and loud. Daisy was sweet and quiet. They were very different, but they loved Owen very much. Owen was their owner. He took them on walks. He taught them tricks. And he gave them yummy treats. Here we see Daisy and Rocky talking to each other. Yes, dogs can talk to each other. But let's see. "We are lucky to have Owen," said Rocky one day. "We sure are," said Daisy. "Remember the day he adopted us?" "How could I forget?" asked Rocky. Before Owen came along, Rocky and Daisy lived in an animal shelter. It was noisy and crowded in the shelter. Rocky and Daisy always dreamed of living somewhere else. "I want a real home," said Daisy. "I want a yard to play in," said Rocky. Every day, visitors would come to the shelter and choose dogs to adopt. "Look, Daisy," said Rocky, "maybe someone will adopt us." Rocky pressed his nose against the cage. He wagged his tail and smiled. Daisy slid her paws under the cage. She rolled onto her back and grinned. People always noticed Rocky and Daisy, but nobody wanted to adopt them. Then Owen came to the shelter. Rocky and Daisy noticed Owen right away. "That boy looks fun," whispered Buddy. "I bet he would take good care of us," said Daisy. "Let's get his attention." The other dogs barked, jumped, and howled. Owen's parents did not like the noise, so Rocky and Daisy sat quietly. They smiled and wagged their tails. They stood out from the other dogs. Owen noticed them right away. "Look, Mom," he said. "The sign says their names are Rocky and Daisy. They are friends." Owen patted the dogs through the cage. "Maybe we could get 2 dogs," he said. Rocky and Daisy grinned. "I don't know," said Mom. 2 dogs means twice as much work," said Dad. "And it means twice as much food," added Mom. "Please," begged Owen. "Rocky and Daisy are the nicest dogs here, and it would not be fair to only choose one. They do not want to be apart." "Well, they are good dogs," said Dad. Mom knelt down and looked at the dogs. "You are right, Owen. We cannot choose just one." Rocky and Daisy grinned even bigger. That day, Rocky and Daisy went home with Owen. They had a real home. They had a yard to play in, and best of all, they had Owen. Owen's parents were right. 2 dogs meant twice as much food. It meant twice as much work. But it meant twice as much fun, too. Boys and girls, this is the end of this book about Rocky and Daisy Go Home. Rocky and Daisy want to thank you for listening to their story and invite you to visit your nearby library where you can find more books about Rocky, Daisy, and Owen's adventures.